you so much for joining me on the Tiny Sessions podcast. It's lovely to finally meet you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. So for anyone who doesn't know about yourself and your wife and also your amazing treehouse, can you just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, so Patrick and Maddie. I'm obviously Patrick. My wife is Maddie. We are based down in Cornwall, the deep, dark Cornwall, place called Gweek, which is on the south coast. Near the Helford River, which people may know about, beautiful rolling green hills and countryside and all that sort of lovely stuff. So we're pretty jammy to be living in this lovely part of the world.
Yeah.
Been down here for 8 years now.
Okay.
Prior to that, we were living in Reading.
Wow.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
Which is where we got together. Oh God, we've been married now. Gee whiz, 10 years. I think Maddie should be deserving a medal by now. Together for 15 years. She's a teacher at the local high school, drama teacher.
Cool.
I work in aviation, doing fuel efficiency, carbon emissions related stuff, that sort of thing. And for us, well, particularly for me, property's always been a hobby. Just like doing it. I genuinely have no idea why. I just kind of get a bit of a buzz from doing up houses, selling them, renting them out. And we've kind of fallen into this world of the tree houses. When we moved down, we took on a really old 70s bungalow, which we've done up. We've also sort of got a holiday cottage here as well.
Nice.
The old office for the mill.
Is that on site?
It is, yeah. So we're lucky enough to have about 5 acres.
Wow.
And the progression of all that was we wanted somewhere that was paying for itself. And the tree houses was a big part of that jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
We started looking at the 5 years ago. We started getting in the conversation with planning, which was a long conversation.
Yeah, I bet.
And led to what we've eventually got with the tree houses. So we've got 2 tree houses at the top of the hill, just on the edge of the field and the woods, overlooking the hills and the countryside. 1 bedrooms, really beautiful curved cedar clad designs, elevated off the ground, sort of about 3-4 meters. So you're floating in the canopy.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been a bit of a labor of love, blood, sweat, tears, and everything else for probably the last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
That's what we've been building. And we opened in May this year. So we're juggling tree houses, we're juggling holiday cottages, we're juggling normal jobs.
Yeah.
And then our 2-year-old on top, just for
wow. That's amazing. Very, very much multitasking, aren't you? Multitasking a lot. Yeah. Some people are like that. Some people thrive off it, and some people they just fall into multitasking, and it just happens, doesn't it? I love this. Can you talk me through the treehouse? You were just mentioning sort of the outer exteriors and that you've got the cedar cladding. I'd love to know a little bit more about sort of the outside exterior and the inside layout as well.
Yeah, so they're 1 bedroom. You've got a double bedroom with a little balcony in the treetops that's sort of on its own, straight off the bedroom at one end. And then we've got a shower room, walk-in shower with a toilet, sink, everything you'd expect.
Yeah.
And then an open plan lounge and kitchen. So it's everything you would expect from proper accommodation.
Yeah, definitely.
Glamping, we're going beyond glamping. In fact, we really struggle to understand, what do you call it? What are these things?
Yeah.
We're not a shepherd's hut, we're not a yurt. We're way more than that, and we've gone as super comfy and glamorous as you can make it. So they're all timber framed. They're double glazed. They're fully insulated. And they're, as I said, they're cedar clad on the outside, all of it. So really swanky is what
It's that, I was going to say, that cedar cladding, that's very special. I think it gives a very beautiful look, doesn't it? A really lovely finish.
Yeah, thank you. And it took us months, every single one, because it's a curved building with a pitched apex roof. It meant everything needed to be hand cut, each individual one, and there's thousands of them on that roof.
I bet.
So we spent last winter sitting on the roof, hammering away, cutting each of them, drenched, soaked all the way through to your pants and your socks. Took months, but it created a really special look and feel to it all. And whether it's raining or sun shining, whatever the light is, you always get this changing patterns, saw marks in the timber or the colours of the shingles. It's really blends in.
I was going to say, it very in keeping with the area of Gweek, and for people who don't know about Gweek, with the sort of Halford River, and you've got the creeks and the boats and things like that, but you do have, like you say, those rolling hills and the sort of woodland and things like that.
And that's really what we were wanting to reflect. That's nice to hear you picking up on that, because that's very much the approach that we've taken, is something that sits in, and all right, it's not disappearing, it's a very obvious structure, but hopefully the shape, that curved shape that we've got, the pitched shape of the roof, the cedar cladding, it's all really designed to be as harmonious as you can make these sorts of things in the environment. And the cedar's going silver, so it's beginning to fade a bit. In the background, we're just leaving it to go natural. It's not been treated, it's not been bleached or anything, it's just left to weather. And that exterior view was always a fundamental guiding principle of where we started. And at the top of the hill there's an old Iron Age settlement. If you look at Google Earth, you see a round field, and it's an old village. And originally we started out having a post buried in the ground structure, as Iron Age buildings would have been thousands of years ago. And having a timber clad rather than a grass roof, because of the pitch of this, the shape of the structure. So it's all stemmed from this historical Iron Age heritage that we've got so close to where we are. And over time, we've gone from burying the posts to bringing them up off the ground, because where we've had to position these things through the conversations with planning, quite a steep slope. So they are screw piles, there's no cement, there's no...
there's no cement holding it?
None at all, no. We've got minimal footprint. So when I'm dead and buried and gone and someone else takes it on, we can take all the wood away, it can be recycled or whatever, have a massive bonfire, whatever you will. Screw the screw piles and nobody knows we've been there. So that was a really important part for us, to have as minimal footprint as you possibly can. So the outside is all about that in keeping, minimal impact, sort of very earth shape and feel to it all.
That's really cool. I was going to ask you, what was it that made you guys choose that curved shape?
It's the natural shape. It's, rather than something that's a stark block or a square or very angular, we've gone for that curved shape because it's more of a natural shape to it and it helps blend in. And what we've also found is it creates these lovely views. So whether you're in the kitchen or the lounge or the bedroom, or you're on the balcony, you get these different views of the building, and it's much more theatrical for turning up. And we've had some really lovely comments from folks that have come to stay with us. It's like,
amazing.
Like a mini grand design, if you
I was going to say, do people say that? I love that. That's really, really cool. That's really special that people said that, because they're really sort of acknowledging the fact that, that curved shape, and as you say, it creates those different types of views at different points. They're really acknowledging that and noticing that. And I guess that's what you wanted as well, in terms of when you've got people staying there.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted that wow factor, something that was
Yeah.
something that was different, something that was memorable, and a bit special. And the industry, it's glamping is evolving. It's becoming big business.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we needed to carve out our little niche, our little USP, if you want.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
we're lucky. We're lucky to have had the site. We're lucky to have had my dad who helped do the building, Maddie's dad who designed the buildings in the first place. It's been a real family affair. Maddie's sister, she helped do some of the branding.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, lots of family input into it, which has really helped. And the skills, we're just super lucky to have all of those.
Yeah, to have those host of skills like right there is just, oh, it's amazing. What a talented family.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so good.
we are super lucky. It would have been a lot more time consuming, difficult, expensive if we
Yeah,
hadn't had those.
definitely.
Yeah. Being able to go back to your in-house architect and say, "What about this, Clive?
Yeah, that's it.
That's change the drawings again."
And I think you get a really honest, I would suspect a very honest answer as well, because I presume all architects are honest, but when it's your family, it is quite just very direct, I presume.
Yeah, it is, and it's a case of actually no, that just doesn't work. That's
Yeah,
rubbish. Or equally some pretty good input to actually you might want to think about this, that, or the other.
yeah.
And it's been nice. Just recently, my sister-in-law got married, and so that side of the family's been down, and they've stayed in it, and they've given
Oh, lovely.
back on it. So they've all got to enjoy it as well recently, which yeah, that's always been helpful. And they're picking.
Ah, that's so lovely. It's nice that they can come and enjoy it now as well. So going to sort of quite early on in the stages, something that I always find as like a hurdle in anything that's to do with property, whether it's someone who's wanting to get a little house or they want to specifically build their own place, whether it's for commercial, so for a brand, or if it's for themselves. The thing that I find the hardest is the factor of finding land. So in the UK, I always think that there are loopholes and there's ways around things. I've heard of things where sometimes people say if you find a plot of land and you put a small holding on it, you can then build on it, and there's ways around that, or there are some areas where you can sort of be on a plot of land, and as long as you maintain it, you can do it that way. But what were the approaches to finding land that you guys did, and what sort of worked for you?
So I guess for us, we were looking primarily for a home, and a home that had elements of paying for itself, as I said earlier, and I think that's where the holiday cottage was a very obvious element for that. It was existing. It's the old office for the mill over the road. It had a track record of what it was doing. Kind of went, so that all worked. And quite honestly, when we saw the house, we knew it had about an acre of garden. We wandered around it, and the woman went, "Oh, they've got a field at the top and some woodland that comes with the house. If you're interested." I went, "Oh, cool." And we turned up in December, and it was horrendous weather. We went to the top
Yeah.
of the hill, and you were in the middle of the clouds, and you couldn't really see from one side or the other. And we kind of went, "Yeah, this is awesome." And just yeah, that was it. We kind of went, this is exactly what we want. We've got woodland that we can take wood out for the fire and for fuel and for heating.
Yeah.
We've got some space that we can potentially look at doing something with in the future. For now, it just had sheep grazing on it, which was great. So it was looking after itself.
Yeah.
So we knew kind of what we were looking for. And because it was always going to be bought with the house, it meant we had a bit more money to play with, because of course it's your home as well as just a piece of land.
Yeah.
It's not a supplementary purchase. So we went into it knowing what we wanted to do. We didn't know the exact details, but the principles of having a home that paid for itself with a business and all the rest of it. So that's kind of why we bought what we bought. But I guess to that point you make around finding land, whether it's a small holding, whether it's separate to where you live,
Yeah.
is a real challenge. And particularly at the moment, I mean, land prices have gone bonkers. Woodland even more. Woodland seems.
Yeah. It used to be that woodland was less. I always used to remember seeing signs when I was growing up, just woodland, so it's like for sale everywhere. But it seems like it's just gone the opposite way.
I think so. I don't know why. And there's some woodland near us that's gone recently. I think people at Dorset have bought it. It seems an awful long way to come from Dorset for a piece of woodland you can't do anything with per se.
Yeah.
But I think people just like the idea of having a patch of their own paradise, made even more so by COVID. Yeah. So I think that land purchasing, I mean, anybody that's thinking of doing what we've done, definitely living next door to where you are makes life infinitely easier. Doing it and having to commute backwards and forwards would have been hard work.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, that's one good idea. Buy a house with a piece of land attached. But that's, of course, costs more. So it depends on your budget.
Yeah. And I guess you have to be a second-time buyer as well, don't you, to be able to get a holiday house. But if you're a first-time buyer and you're in the opportunity where you can get a place that's got land and has a building on it. Sometimes there are little places where they've got a little building on, and you can always do like a small scale version, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quite. And we wanted to set up a full-on business rather than just sort of something on the side.
Yeah.
And whether it be a shepherd's hut or something basic and low build cost like your yurt or your traditional glamping. We've gone very much the extreme, and you could live in these buildings all year round.
Yeah.
It could be at home. It's got all of the mod cons and a dishwasher and a washing machine and heating and lighting and all that stuff. So it really is a all year round offering that we purposefully went down. And again, the space that you need to go with that, both looking outwards, but also people giving you privacy and looking inwards, and all of those considerations of spacing and privacy and inclusion were all really important. So anybody that comes and stays, you feel like, whilst we've got 2 tree houses, you're on your own, you could be on your own, you could be a million miles away. Yeah.
You don't feel like you're on top of each other.
Yeah. And that's gone all the way through to the orientation of the tree houses next to each other. They sit at subtly different orientations, so the windows don't look into each other, or as people pass one to the other, you can't look inside. So we've spent a lot of time doing the surveying and the groundworks to get those details right. So when you turn up, you don't even think about it. You just know that, hey, no one can see into the kitchen door. No one can see into the bedroom window. My balcony is privacy and I'm not overlooking anybody. It's all those sorts of details. But we've got the land and the space to be able to do that. And where the trees are within the woodland, we've used the trees as natural screening. So you need to really work with the space that you've got, have an idea of roughly what you want to do. This type of development you want to do, and then make it fit within the patch of land. If you've got an open grass field, you've got no natural screening. So how do you get around that?
Yes, it's like using what you've got there. Did you look for the plot of land that you've got now? Did you go on to, for example, like auctions, or did you just go on to like Rightmove or?
Yeah, Rightmove. Yeah, it was a box because it was a house purchase. It was an additional purchase rather than a land agent type purchase.
Which maybe that makes it easier as well. Because sometimes when you're looking at just land, there's so many extra things that are with it, and sometimes you can't really tell if you don't know, or you haven't got someone sort of guiding you. You can't tell if that land is like buildable on, or if there's some weird hidden things on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Do you have services? Where can you put a toilet and water or gas or whatever else you might want to be? All of those utility services and those practical things. We had a real headache with that. We've had to bury the biggest electricity cable I think I've ever seen. It was
all the way through.
All the way up there. We've got a borehole for the water, and wanted to go totally off grid with solar panels and battery storage, but no, the conversation with planning, just we kept things simple, and we very promptly abandoned renewable energy on site because we just thought the conversation with planning, you thought there'd be
hard
for that, but no.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got what we've got at the moment, and we've had to. It's been expensive putting infrastructure in. So if you are looking at land, you need to consider those current or potential connections that you want to be. Yeah, get out there, have a look, have an idea of what you want to do, see where the land lies. Definitely go and walk around it. Don't walk around it once, walk around it 10 times. Different weather, different seasons. Find out who's got the land next door, what they're doing. All that sort of stuff is, so it takes multiple trips, but for us it was certainly easier to buy because of the house.
That makes sense.
My batteries just come on.
That's all right, no worries. Plug in. That's all right, no problem at all.
Here we go.
You're all plugged in.
1, 2, 3, back on. Oh, there you go.
I always have to check that it does the little it comes up with the little thing. I had that once and I thought it was in and it wasn't, and then it just went. I was like, oh. That's
my battery and have a slug of coffee as well.
Sip, you can sip away whenever you want. That's really, really handy what you're saying about the tips as well for like the land and what to look out for. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about was in terms of the building, you've already said about how you've kept costs down in terms of being very fortunate to have a great host of family members. Are there other areas that you felt that was actually a really good way of keeping costs down, that if someone was doing it or you did it again, that you'd think, oh, I definitely would do that again, or I would do it differently so I had the costs down?
For COVID, for certain, buy all your materials when at the beginning of the project. You can't buy everything because there'll be a box of nails that you'll run out of and need to buy more. But the big stuff, I mean, COVID was hopefully COVID was unique and we won't see that again in a while. But for example, the cedar shingles had gone up 40% within 3 months, which was quite a few £1,000s that we hadn't budgeted for, and that was replicated across all materials if you could get them. Roofing batten, we just couldn't get roofing batten for 2 months. When you could, it was 5-6 times the price of what it was at the beginning of the project. So I think if you can do some sort of estimates on what materials you need and stock them, then you're not going to be experiencing the problems we had with increases in prices. Quite unique to the time that we were building. But equally, once you've bought it, you've paid the money, you've got that in your budget, and you've got
it, and you know what you've got left then, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And you may need to top up, you may have a bit spare, but try and do some sort of quantification of the core materials that you need. As you can. That I say would be really, that would have saved us thousands, quite honestly, if we'd have been better at doing that. And we did do it to a degree where we could. We had the space to stockpile materials and draw on them at the time of the project when we needed it. So we did a bit. We could have done way more. And that would have saved probably tens of thousands.
It's hard, isn't it? Because no one would have predicted that was going to happen and prices were going to go up. But then at the same time, like you say, actually it's quite a good little tool and tip to be able to have, even if that hadn't happened, because you've got it. And I guess it's like with buying materials, you often, if you've got to get past, for example, after 10 battens, the price goes down and it becomes cheaper. So if you can buy it straight away, it's a win-win, really.
Negotiate on the price, definitely. And we did that. We phoned up suppliers and said, how much is your timber per meter? And we shopped around. And we with not necessarily just on price. And again, I think depending on what you want to achieve, we were going as higher quality, and FFC and sustainability has always been important. I mean, it's part of what I do at Boeing in terms of fuel efficiency and carbon trade. So all of that degree of sustainability was a significant piece. Now, you're building a building, you're going to get waste, and you're not going to be the super eco-friendly person that you might always want to be, but you can do as much as you can do sensibly. So therefore, it's not just about price, it's about what the materials are, getting the quality materials, as well as value for money. I think it's the value for money that you need to shop for. But if, as you say, if you're buying 10 battens and you need 50, you'll go and buy 50 and get a better price, and just leave it on the ground somewhere until you need it. Assuming you've got the space to, of course.
To be able to store it properly. That makes sense. So in terms of funding a project like this, is it something that you guys just saved up for, or did you get any grant funding, or did you try to approach for any funding for the project?
Yeah, so we've funded it ourselves. So there's no grant funding. We did look for grant funding for the planting of the woodland. So we've got about so that we were required under the planning to basically turn half of the field. So it's around a 3-acre field. Half of that is being turned over to woodland planting now. So we looked for support for that, but we were too small. So we just ended up having to pay for that ourselves. And we wanted to keep the finances simple and own it ourselves, rather than having to take on a specific financial package. And it came out of savings, but it also came out of remortgaging the house. So I guess in a roundabout way, we've taken on a form of a mortgage. But we bought a house, a 70s bungalow. We spent several years doing it up. It's a lot nicer than it was when we bought it. It's worth more. The market's gone up, so we've released capital from our own house to pay for it.
Right, I see. And is that on the house that you've got? Is that on the cottage or
the house, main house?
Your main house. So you don't have any other houses. So the one that you had up country, you sold, and then completely bought this new. Perfect. And then you've remortgaged the house that you've got, that's your house, and then you've been able to use that as the sort of capital to do everything.
It's been a long time. We've been in this house now for 8 years. We had 1 bedroom in the corner, and the rest was just a building site. And I used to work off patio furniture in what is now the lounge for a couple of years. If you got a conference call to do, it's like, well, hang on, guys, put the drill, give me a minute. It's what it was. It was part of the journey.
Definitely.
And it was just quite normal at the time, to be honest, going through all that. And we knew what we were doing. We knew it was adding value. As I said, I've done houses for yonks, and I've always bought them with the intention that if the worst goes, we only ever buy a house if we know we can sell it. And the first thing is, can I sell this and get out if I need to, if the worst happens? And we've always structured things as a case of, if the worst happens, we just sell it all. And that's doable, and we can pay off our debts and leave, and we've got to buy another smaller place. And again, that was part of the investment into the tree houses. We knew we could take more of a mortgage on. We went totally wrong. The land is worth more. We've got the tree houses that we can sell. We've got the house we can sell, and we can clear. So we're not going to be in negative equity.
No, that's it. And I think it's really, really important, and like a really good way to look at things as well. Sometimes even in life, when you think, oh, I want to go do this, shall I do it? I had a friend recently say to me, she was like, what's the worst that can happen? You just decide to come back, or you decide to sell up, and it's such a good way to look at things. And I think that's a really good tip as well, of making sure you choose a place that you know that you can sell. I mean, we're very lucky down here. We're both living in Cornwall, and we're so lucky that the house price is just going up and up and up. But it is happening across the whole of the UK as well. And as far as I'm aware from friends and family, it's happening overseas as well.
And I think so. And I think that's it. For those folks that aren't on the housing market, the development across Cornwall at the moment is, people second homes and all the rest of it, the classic old debate. It must be infuriating beyond infuriating if you can't go on a housing market in the current climate. And all those other negative feelings that you may have. But I guess it does present an opportunity for those lucky enough to be on the housing market like we have been. And with the house that we bought in Reading, it was a total hole. We opened the fridge door and it was full of slugs, and the bathroom shell peach effect 1970s that leaked and rotten floorboards. And we bought a dump and we did it up, and we added value and sold it. And it's graft, but we were lucky enough to have the ability to buy a dump, do it up. And again, that's I used part of my student loan, and I was lucky enough to be able to have some spare to buy a house and do a house up and sell it. And it's
that's amazing
that we've been doing. God, when did I buy my first house? 15 years ago. Buy them, do them, upsell, and buy them, do them, upsell, more rent them out. And it's been a hobby that has paid for its way, and I've enjoyed doing it.
I think that's important as well, enjoying doing it. Otherwise it just becomes a chore, doesn't it, if you're having to do up a place and you do get sort of, did you find that you had sort of like 2 steps forwards, 1 step backwards at times and things like that? So you have to enjoy it, don't you?
Yeah, big time. And I think if you don't, God, don't do it. Treehouses are a huge amount of work. On occasions they're really tight. You find yourself emailing at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, catching up on paperwork, doing whatever. It's relentless, but it's equally really nice when people turn up. We've had loads of honeymooners at the moment going, this is fantastic, we had a really lovely week.
That's nice.
And you've got to get something out of it at a personal level, and if you don't, then think of doing something else. Definitely.
That's so special though, like the responses that you're getting from people, and after all that hard work as well, and finally sort of being on the other side of it, which is just as much hard work in itself, because you have to sort of propel like the brand forwards and let people know about you. So it's so lovely to have those responses. It's really, really nice.
That makes it worth the while. And equally, all of those developments that we've done, where I used to drive down from Reading at the weekend and work on a and drive home on Sunday night and go into the office on Monday morning. It was great. And it was, for me, I guess I've worked in an office in front of a laptop, and you work on projects, and the projects go 1 month to 1 year, and you don't see a physical manifestation of your work. Whereas the property, and I guess that's perhaps why I like it, maybe never really thought about it that way, is you get this physical manifestation of your efforts and your labours. Treehouses,
you can visually see that end product, that end treehouse.
That's really rewarding to kind of see that come together. And then you've got people coming and staying in it, having a lovely time. We've got a really lovely couple with their dog at the moment. She's enjoying her 60th birthday for a week. And it was cool. She was sitting in the fields amongst all the trees and the tall grass, and it's all becoming a bit more wild now. Sunshine, having a great time and having a chat. And brilliant. It's really nice chilling out after the party, and it's cool.
It's so lovely. It's so nice. And I just want to go back slightly to I'm going to call this a tip, because this is something that I wish I knew when I was at uni. If anyone's going to uni or wants to go to uni or has an opportunity where they have a loan, like the uni loans, what you said about trying to save your loan is such a good tip. I knew someone who did that, and I think they went traveling at the time. But if we're never programmed to know these things, and I think that tip about saving your loan and then putting it towards a deposit is just that is the way around it, I think, because it's so hard now, and that would give you a really good base, wouldn't it? If you could do that.
I mean, I'm old enough not to have to take out the crazy expensive student loans that they are. Whoa, eye-watering percentage interest rate. And I mean, that's probably a podcast for another occasion. I won't give my thoughts on what I think poor old students these days. But again, we were really lucky. I didn't have to spend it. And again, those students that have to spend it, spend it. And I was lucky enough to have a family that supported me. We inherited my grand's house when I was kind of that sort of age, and that was again a chunk of cash that meant I didn't have to spend all of that that money at uni.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure somebody would, say, well, that's lucky you've been bought with a silver spoon in your mouth, and perhaps I have. But equally, I guess I've taken that silver spoon, and we've done things with it that I could have, like certain friends at uni, just put it up against the wall.
Exactly. That would be exactly what I'd say as well. And unfortunately, it is what a lot of people do as well. Not everyone does, but I think people sometimes presume. So I think it's the fact that you've taken that money and you've used it really wisely, and it's something that can be applied to anyone. Because even if you weren't in the situation where you had the sort of financial help, even if you just had your loan on its own, there is ways that you could save on, for example, your food shop, and every month that does add up. So yeah, there's definitely ways around that. I really love that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just been a bit canny with it, and I've always enjoyed that sort of business side. Really like being my own boss, and it's nice company, even though I'm an employee of the big corporates. It's nice, those mechanics of being careful with things and making the most out of it, and all of making your money work, basically. And for me, property has been the way that we've made that money work. We bought a real rundown building, and we've done it up, and we've sold it, and we've bought our own houses, and we've done them up, and we've sold. So we've bought things that were in our budget, and we made them into things that were outside our budget. Where we've got a budget where we can afford a fantastic house. Well, actually, we couldn't afford this house if we went out to the market. It's above our budget, but we need it what it is, and we've invested time and effort as well as money. And I think that's where, if you've got that opportunity and you're lucky enough to have a bit of spare cash, make it work. And for us, property's been one of those opportunities. And we were doing that in the early noughties. So certainly properties have grown to the prices they are today. But we weren't in the 90s bubble of the new Labour bubble that came along, and when people were crazy increases in house prices. So it's still, even in the current environment, everyone says houses are too pricey. If you can get on that market in any way, shape, or form, buy a doer-upper.
That's it. Just buy something that's like you say, with that house that you had that was a dump. Just buy that. I know one mortgage advisor had said to me, she's absolutely lovely, and she said, even if it's outside of the area that you want, buy it up and do it up, because that area will start to overflow into the area that people do want to be in, because they can't get into the other areas. So it's definitely something to always remember for people, because I think some people get quite daunted by it all as well.
Yeah, they do. And I've bought houses in Penryn and houses that they weren't habitable, and we've made them habitable. And they were not desirable houses. We've bought houses in Camborne that they really weren't. They didn't have a roof, and we've made them habitable. So Camborne and Penryn, they're not rock or Padstow. They are not the places where you'd immediately want to buy somewhere because it's instantly marketable. But they're places that people still need to live in Cornwall, and they're good places to buy a house and do it up and sell it on. It's just a very different market. For people that live down here that don't have £1 million to buy a house in Rock, or £5 million to buy a house in Rock, you can still buy things that are, well, at the prime. What was my first house? It was under 100 grand. So by house standards, that's relatively cheap. You just got to start somewhere, and it leads you on to that piece where we've got to today. So perhaps for certain individuals maybe listening to this, if you want to get into glamping and you don't have the capital or an investment, there are longer term ways to get there. And that's the way that we took it, and it's taken us 15 years to get here,
but you've got there. That's it. That's it. I love that. So with the tree houses, we've sort of touched on about how they're very eco-conscious in terms of the build. And I know from reading about you guys and what you guys are about, that's like the core heart of like your brand and sort of the treehouses and what you want people to know about. How did you do this? Like, how did you come about what sort of eco areas you wanted the whole sort of brand and build to be?
Yeah, I guess that's a really hard question to answer.
It's hard, yeah.
It's a principle. I'm not an eco warrior.
Yeah.
I'm quite sort of middle of the road when it comes to the way that we live our life. You know, we
Yeah.
have parcels delivered in plastic packaging, and we buy stuff from the supermarket, and you know, we are probably very similar to most people up and down the country, but we're both very conscious that we'd like to leave the world in as good a condition as we can when we leave it. And we buy, you know, organic where we can, and we buy apples from the supermarket, not in plastic package, but loose. And we do those little bits, and we do our recycling. Hopefully every little bit helps, as the saying goes.
It does, yeah.
And I think that principle that we're very conscious of feeds through to the way that we wanted to build. You know, we had stuff turning up in plastic packets and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult not to do that in the current world and economy we live in. But still, you know, if we're buying wood, it was FSC wood. And if we're buying certain materials, we'll try and buy it from local suppliers. And we would try to, in fact, we used only local tradespeople, and all those sorts of elements fed into what we were doing. And the buildings themselves, I hate concrete, basically, carbon. And that's
yeah.
So we didn't want to have to use any more cement than we really had to, and we've only put a small pad in for the bins out the back of the shed. So the buildings themselves, they were always going to be designed around the principle of, once they've gone, who would know that we've been here?
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody. And in 100, 500, 1,000 years' time, there's no trace that we've really existed.
Yeah.
Kind of underlying principle was the wooden A-frames, which evolved into metal screw piles. So the actual physical contact that the tree houses have got on the ground is probably no more than sort of a square meter, really.
Yeah.
And we've got these big poles with screw piles into the ground, and the whole thing's off the floor.
That's cool.
And you know, all the planting of the trees, it's all part of that ethos of minimal footprint, I guess. But equally being minded that we've got to run a business and it has to make money.
Yeah.
So it's all that balance. And
yeah, I was going to say it's a good balance though. It's a really good balance, because I think sometimes people feel quite what's the word, like quite overwhelmed and sort of feel pressure to think, oh, like we need everything to be sustainable. But and if you can, it's great. If you can do that, it's fantastic. But I don't think it's about just doing that. Like doing the principles that you've got, I think is just as great as if you can do all of it as well. So I think it's fantastic. And there's something that I've been really excited to ask you, because I'm really intrigued by it. What is it that made you guys choose a treehouse? Like, why did you want to choose a treehouse over, I don't know, for example, a big cabin that's overlooking, or sort of go for the creeks with the narrow boats and things like that? What was it that made you guys choose a treehouse?
Location.
Okay.
As it's so well versed, it's very the environment around Gweek is rolling green hills, lots of trees and woodlands. I mean, the Helford is just, you take the kayak down the Helford and you could go back 1,000 years and it probably hasn't changed. So that woodland setting, the fact that we've got this woodland, there's grade 2 listed woodland neighbouring the site. So it's all woodland, and by definition, because it's such a predominant feature of where we are, it really lent itself to tree houses. No, we're not in a tree. These things are built. And that's where, you know, we've had those conversations. What do we call these things? Now, this is much more than glamping. Is it a tree house? Well, it's not in a tree. So what is it? And we've kind of come to use this word tree house because you're in the trees.
Yeah, you're elevated at the same height, aren't you?
Yeah. And I guess, you know, you can stand on the balcony and you can reach out in less than an arm's length. You're literally touching the canopy of the treetop. So
cool.
You become part of that woodland.
Yeah.
No, you're not in a tree itself. And because you're part of that woodland, I think it's fair to call them tree houses.
Yeah.
And you're 4 meters up on a steep slope, and it immediately elevates you into the trees and into the vistas beyond. And I guess it's the location that really led us to build and call them tree houses.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the heritage up there around those Iron Age fort and around all that, which kind of led to the shape of the building.
Yeah.
The shape, the curve, the natural curve of the building, the A-frame structure that we've made them around, that all stemmed from the heritage, the Iron Age side of things. And then the location kind of led us through to the cedar cladding, the use of timber, the use of the wood. Tree. Yeah, so it's location. That's really,
I love that. Yeah, I can sort of picture you guys going there and picturing like these rolling hills and things like that. And if you've gone on a day where you've got that sort of, we get quite like low-lying mist and fog, and I can imagine like being in that treehouse and being elevated, you'd almost feel like you're up in the sky. And it almost, when you're talking about it as well, it sounds really relaxing as well, which I think sort of you wouldn't have that same feeling if you were lower down, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It does, it elevates you in every word, both physically and hopefully mentally.
Yeah.
And again, that lady that's staying there this week, went up the middle of the day. She said, we just didn't want to go out. We just wanted to kind of come here. And you can, that was really nice. That was really nice to see that, you come down to Cornwall, you stay in a box standard holiday cottage like the one that we've got down by the house, and you go off and explore Cornwall, and it's a base. It's somewhere that you get your head down at night and you eat some dinner and you relax and have a nice time, but you don't come to stay in the holiday cottage. You come to use it as a location to explore. Whereas the tree houses, you come to stay in a tree house, and that is a significant part of the holiday as much as going off and seeing places. It's the accommodation and the location and the experience that we've got. And I think that's where glamping really is unique from bed and breakfasts, from hotels, from holiday cottages, from caravans, from camping. It's very much the immediate physical surroundings that you've got of that structure that create hopefully a unique experience. And so many of them are different. We've looked at all sorts. There's an amazing actual Iron Age replica of a building near here.
Oh wow!
Research, oh my god, it's amazing. He was on Time Team, Yonk's back. Phenomenal. And again, that experience of something like that is what it is. And we can't replicate that with our tree houses, but we can. Very different and hopefully very luxurious. And you've got this real natural exterior to it, but you walk into the tree houses and we've given it quite a upmarket sort of, I don't know, New York sort of vibe to it. We've got very sort of cement Antico flooring throughout and very stark contrast to this softer outside. Most of the buildings, why not putting like wooden floorboards down? It's like, well, we don't want that. We want to go. So
it's quite light inside. Because often sometimes you can get very traditional tree houses where it is just all wood inside. So, and I think that's where your style of luxury that you're wanting to sort of convey, that's when that comes in with that really beautiful sort of lightness. And I always think of like Scandinavian style as well, when you've just got all of those elements in it and you've still got the wood there as well, which just holds sort of to itself.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of thought went into do we just clad it all out and with timber lined walls?
Yeah.
And so actually it just doesn't feel right. That's a very for us, that was an obvious route to go down. And that's not that it's the wrong route, just for us, we wanted to have something that was this stark contrast of coming off the walkway, woods, natural leaves, timber, etc. And you come into something that we've still got that feel. The leftover cedar that we had from some of the cladding, we've turned that into little slats and we've made a bespoke kitchen out of it.
Oh,
so you've
cool.
got timber that comes from outside inside.
I like that.
The whole kitchen was all handmade by an amazing guy called Ian, and they are beautiful, absolutely beautiful doors. And that brings the outside in, so you've got this connection, but then we've got plaster and painted walls on the inside with this sort of quite sort of concrete looking, which sounds horrible. It's nicer than that. It's quite man-made human sort of flooring that's very simple and Scandi. To positively contradict the outside and the inside. You'll feel warm and cozy when you're in it. The interior design's been it's probably in the bit that we've struggled with the most, because we've had less experience of that high-end architectural interior side of things, but it's been good fun. It's certainly been a lesson learned, and we're continually evolving it. We're moving cushions around and putting bits, and changing bits and moving things, and the interiors was hard to get to where we've got to today. But just a new experience for us.
And another, you can now add that skill as well to yourselves as well, which is really, really cool. It's like, I think sometimes you just have to try it, don't you, and just give it a go, which is really, really great. And now you've got that, so that's really good.
Other people, you do your research and you look at what other people are offering, and you clearly see some people go, wow, you guys have really got your eye on the ball when it comes to interior. It's beautiful. And there's a lot. Interiors are difficult. Oh, man, getting interiors right and doing it.
And so that is timeless as well and lasts.
And affordable. I mean, some of the stuff, if you've got £1 million, dead easy.
You
didn't have £1 million, by the way. I don't think we will. But doing it on a sensible budget is equally, that's even more challenging. That's an area that we're continuing to learn. And I think if anyone out there's got those skills, gee whiz, employ them. Make it your own, make it unique. And I think that's really important with these things, is hopefully something that somebody's not done before, or if they've done it slightly differently, and putting it on.
Definitely. So with the brand and the land and the space, what are your future plans now? I know just before we started this podcast, we were saying about a really cool extra new element that you're adding to the treehouses, but what are your future plans for Kosel Treehouses?
Well, I think the current future plan is get to Christmas and breathe. But beyond surviving,
get past New Year's Eve.
Exactly. We are in the middle. In fact, that's where I'm going next, is to put a tap in for a hot tub. So we've got the Dutch Love tub, bright orange, EasyJet coloured orange, 2-seater hot tub, wood fired, of course, no electricity. So it's again part of that low impact sustainability side of things. No chemicals, it's all fed from the borehole. So the hot tub is the next one that we're putting into Scapia, which is one of the tree houses, Cornish for escape.
Cool.
The hot tub's the next addition. And I think beyond that, we've had folks giving us some great feedback, just little things about it'd be nice to have a cushion there or a cushion here, or that. And just refining what we've got and making it better and better and better. We've only been open since May, so we've only been open a few months. So we've definitely got some of those improvements and refinements, and really we want people to tell us that was great, Not so good.
Yeah, you want to know honestly, so then you can adapt and improve each time.
Yeah, and what's good for us might not be good for somebody else, and again, we've been very conscious to make the whole thing not for us.
Yeah.
We have our own personal taste, and we've brought a degree of that to it, because that's what helps make you unique. But things like the hot tub and stuff, I'm personally not a hot tub. It doesn't bother me. It's not my thing, but it's really, people love them.
Yeah.
I've got to say, this one does look pretty cool.
Yeah, you might be converted now. Maybe you could get one for the cottage.
Yeah, maybe. Having the little stove going, heating your hot water for you, no chemicals. I just like that for me sounds pretty good fun.
That's so cool. Is it round shape or is it like a bathtub shape?
It's like a big bathtub, but slightly curved on either side, so you can sit facing.
That's cool. Yeah.
Or your beer.
Yeah, that's lovely.
So that's the current one. But I think, in terms of your question about where are we going beyond the hot tub, we really do want to focus on the business and have our own presence and website and all that side of things. So that's really what I think we'll focus on over winter, is taking stock of what we've got, understanding what are we offering people, and trying to perhaps build up the marketing side of things, really.
Yeah.
As for will there be any more tree houses in the future? I mean, we wanted 5 originally.
Oh, okay.
We've got 2. 2 is for us and the amount of we've invested, both effort and financially, 2 is just break even point.
Yeah.
We won't get a return for several years. So would we want to do another one in the future? I think if this works out, and so far it's going good, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'd be lying if I said no. Could we do one? Who knows? That's back to the planning. Do I have the energy to go back to Cornwall Planning Department at the moment?
Yeah.
Honest.
That's understandable.
That wasn't a fun journey.
Yeah.
But I think if this works out well, I don't think we'd build another of what we've got. We've got 2 of them. Would we build something a bit different? 2 bedrooms, one. Always wanted to build a house that's buried into a hillside with a big grass roof that you can't.
Yeah, like the little hobbit houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking at a Welsh version of that a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Well, you just can't see it. It's an invisible house.
Yeah.
Fully insulated, fully off the grid, buried house. So I don't know. We've got what we've got. We're going to make the most of it. We'll make it as good as it can possibly be. We'll get the marketing sorted out this winter, and I think we'll enjoy what we've got for now, but watch this space, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. I like that. It's always exciting to have future plans as well, I think. I really, really love that. I always like to ask the community a question that they'd like to ask you. And one of the questions was, who is your favourite space inspiration right now? So I know that you just said about the sort of guy who's got the Welsh hut, would you call it? Who is is there a space that you like? Oh, I just love that. That's really what it gets me excited seeing that space.
I wouldn't pretend to be educated enough to be able to name architects or designers by name. It's very much that Scandi, plain, simple, timeless.
Yeah.
Really high quality, sustainable vibe.
Yeah.
And whenever I start doing research, whenever I'm looking at this stuff, whenever I'm reading this stuff, it always seems to come back to these wooden cabins that are really simple, but really sympathetic to their environment, whether it's a mountain, a woods, a lake, a field, whatever. Really natural, rooted in their surroundings, and very plain, but striking at the same time, and functional.
Yeah.
those are all the sorts of pieces that for me, I really just instantly click with that sort of design. And that comes through with what we've got. No, I love that high quality beech birch ply clad interiors.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of climbing huts in Europe. Super simple, massively functional, dead easy to clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good for changeovers.
Yeah, so you have to think about that as well.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the stuff I'm looking at the moment. Is that climbing hut, wooden, sort of striking but super sympathetic and natural material look.
I love that. For people who don't know what a climbing hut is it a bit like when you have the huts in the mountains, that if you're going on like a hike up the mountains, you've got somewhere that you can rest and stay in, a bit like, I guess, like a Scottish bothy and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Scottish bothy. Yeah. They're made out of often stone with a timber roof, because that's materials that are around them.
Yeah.
A lot of the ones in Scandinavia are built out of timber because, hey, you've got a load of trees.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that I like. There's that connection between where it is and what it is, and what it's doing. And it's there to give you shelter and get you out of the elements and give you a safe place to sleep and eat, and it's comfy, and you've got a little log fire in the corner. And I really like those principles. I guess the classic old Ben Fogle, New Lives in the Wild. I'm sure listeners have been watching that. The dude that was on it recently with his Iron Age Neolithic.
Yeah.
Love all that. Yeah. A real strong connection with his environment and the way that he lives. I really like that. I don't live that.
Yeah.
I live in a converted, improved 1970s bungalow.
Yeah.
Miles away from where he was, but I have a very strong draw to that simple life of supplying you food and shelter. I really like all that sort of stuff.
It's the simplicities of it, isn't it? It's just taking everything back and stripping it all back. And like when you say with the climbing huts, it's just that simplicity of just having somewhere to cook, somewhere to sleep, but it being so beautiful as well, because you're sort of invited to just be outdoors when you're in such a simplistic place like that, I think.
And I think it roots you in where you are. If you can feel that connection with the surroundings, I think that's a really difficult thing to achieve, and that simplicity's a really difficult thing to achieve. And I am by no means an expert at it, but I certainly appreciate it. You look at some of that architecture that's out there and you just go, wow. You look at it, it's just a wooden shed that's got beech birch ply on the inside. That's pretty basic, really. But nah, it's really not. The simpler it gets, the harder it gets to do it well. And in fact, I don't know where we are at the moment. I guess we're challenged with that, actually. It's just sparked a thought that we've got the new woodland that we're creating, and we're wanting to do our mini version of rewilding. And we've just let nature go and reconsume the land that we've disturbed. And it's thrown up some bonkers plants. It's been really interesting.
Oh, really?
But equally, we need to keep on check, because the grass will take over and nobody will be able to get to the tree houses. And again, we don't want the grass, because we want the trees to come up and turn it into woodland. So we've got this management. And again, I've never really done woodland environmental management of that sort of nature, of, well, how much do you just let go? If we just leave the grass, it'll just turn into a big mat and swamp everything, and it'll only get grass and it'll kill the trees. And we've got to manage the site. And it's that thing between wanting it to feel wild and be full of wildlife, and not really tinker with it too much and just leave it be, but also manage it so it's manageable and is good for the wildlife. And I guess that's that thing of managing the grounds and the land and the landscape that we've got to go wild is kind of hard. We've got grass. We've got 1.5 acres of grass to go and strim, and we're starting this Friday, hand strimming it and hand raking it. So hopefully it allows
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Was that so it allows the bluebells?
Yeah, so we've got bluebell woodlands next to us, and they're starting to break through, and you can see them coming up, and you can see where the jays have been planting acorns and stuff. Squirrels have been planting acorns, and they're all coming up. So we just got to carefully manage it so we don't strim it all, and we end up with short grass. But we're protecting and encouraging the woodland species to begin to take over that space, and that's that management of simplicity, of getting it looking right and looking good and being beautiful and not screwing up nature in the process.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all part of that piece around, your question around what architecture you like. And I like that plain, simple architecture.
Yeah.
It's really dead easy. And when you stand back, you go, it looks like somebody's made no effort at all. But there's a huge amount of effort has gone into it, and a huge amount of skill and expertise has gone into creating something so simple and natural. And I guess that's that challenge of achieving that. That's what I aspire to.
Yeah.
Aspire to it. Yeah.
I love that. There's a sustainability question that we always like to ask at the end of each episode, or that I like to ask at the end of each episode. And sustainability wise, what do you wish you or we had more of?
I wish we had more of off-grid stuff. I wanted to do that with what we've got. Certainly, we're off-grid on water. We've got a wastewater treatment plant as well, so that's all off-grid. Wastewater treatment plants are just a no-brainer. Rather than connecting to the main sewage, why would you not do that? The electricity, battery storage, really looking forward to that sort of technology advancing so we can tap into that opportunity.
Yeah.
We're not there with the likes of the EV, the electric car points yet.
Yeah.
But we've already started looking into those sorts of opportunities. But that self-sufficiency, that off-grid, I think appreciating and achieving that, it really does limit what you build. So we minimal electric heating into the tree houses because we only have 100 amp supply on site, and we've got 2 tree houses, and you put loads of that in and you turn all the lights on and turn the oven on, and then your lights are going to start dimming because you have power. So I think being able to generate your own and appreciate your own, and people understand that this is a finite resource and you've got to use it more carefully, changes the way that we interact with a building and we interact with the surroundings. And you're more responsible for your energy usage or your water usage or whatever it might be. And I think if we can start to do more of that, as well as energy efficiency, both the treehouse double glazing, loads of insulation in the floor and the walls, all of that energy efficiency. So it's not only about generating what we use more sensibly and more cautiously, but also conserving it and not using much in the first place. So all of that, that's part of my career on fuel efficiency. From the renewable energy industry, doing wind farms and hydro before I joined aviation. All of that feeds very much through what I want to do more of with what we do. Energy efficiency and off-grid stuff, but equally it'd be nice to see more encouragement of that. Now that's where we wanted to go from day dot, and the response
with the planning
was not enthusiastic about it at all. And I don't think they even considered or valued that sort of opportunity. And I think that's so short-sighted. And we see that not just with glamping and what we've done, but with housing estates left, right and centre. There's the off-grid, the sustainable, the renewable, the energy efficiency, big efficiency, more and more of that.
Definitely. I think it needs to become more of a norm, because I always used to say to myself, with all the new estates that are built, if they all just came with solar panels from the start, that would be like a start, and it would be a catalyst for all of them. And I think sometimes people say like if they're companies, they sort of factor in things like costs and things like that. But if everyone was already doing that, then those costs for those solar panels will be more affordable, because the solar panels companies are able to give them out and sell them more of them. So yeah, it works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And the energy efficiency as well. You know, if we were building more buildings that were properly energy efficient rather than minimal building regs,
Yeah.
and the paltry amount of insulation that goes into new builds at the moment, if you did it properly, you know, we've put 500 mil of insulation in the roof on our own house.
Yeah.
We needed to, or we had to, but it's what we should be putting in.
Yeah.
And therefore, you know, I think we managed to. Our electricity bill was 20 quid one month in summer.
Oh, amazing.
We've gone triple glazing. We've gone 150 mil insulation on the walls. We've gone 500 mil of insulation in the roof. We don't need any electricity because we heat the building ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the housing industry, it's a sad indictment of its lack of care for the environment.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd contradict me on that, but you don't need to go far to see what they should be doing in the profit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm at risk of getting on a bandwagon, so
no, it's fine. I do agree.
But yeah, I mean, that sustainability piece for us, it's about insulating the walls as much as we possibly could.
Yeah.
It was about putting in wood burners and encouraging people to use it if they're cold rather than electric heaters. We've got them, people want them. You know, we're realistic. But it's all of that sort of stuff. More we can do more. We personally can do more and more. You know, we're having lots of conversations at the moment around what do we put in a welcome pack. And I know that sounds bizarre.
Yeah.
Putting in Yalla coffee, they bring in coffee to the UK on a sail ship, so that's low carbon. They roast it over at Argyll Reservoir, sort of Falmouth direction. So for us, that was like a really cool sort of picture of, if we're going to put coffee in a welcome pack, then let's put sustainable coffee in a welcome pack. We don't give you a plastic pot of milk anymore. We put the milk in glass jars so they can be reused and washed. And again, it's small, it's tiny little things, but the more we do of that,
definitely,
then every little bit helps. And you know, again, we've had long conversations around, should we call ourselves an eco lodge? And I went, I'm uncomfortable with the word of that eco, because we're not. You know, we have an environmental footprint with what we do. We're trying to reduce it. We're trying to reduce plastic packaging. The waste that we send it to the company called CTC, who recycle as much as they can before they then turn energy to waste. So we're conscious of little bits where we can make a difference. Then we will. You know, the torch, it's a wind-up torch as well as one that you can charge. All these little bits, we bit by bit, whether it's the coffee that you're drinking from the welcome pack or where your rubbish goes at the end of your holiday. We've thought about it. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than it could be? Yeah, definitely. Have we got more to do? Absolutely. Will we get to the point where we stop? No.
No, keep going.
Doing something bigger and better and improving what we're doing, and that environmental footprint will hopefully get a little bit smaller. And we've got a story to tell about that, and hopefully the guests that stay appreciate that. Take a little bit of that away, and that's all part of that that drive to be more sustainable, lower environmental footprint, etc. And equally offer people a really damn nice holiday in the process.
Exactly. I love that. That's the whole package of your brand, all encompassed. I think it's so lovely, and I love your answers as well on the sustainability question as well. Oh, Patrick, thank you so much for chatting to me today on the Tiny Sessions podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and hearing about Kosel Treehouses. For anyone who wants to find out a little bit more about you, I know that you guys are on Canopy and Stars at the moment, aren't you, to be able to book your space?
Yes, if you search Kosel Treehouses or Calmincy or Scapia, those are the two names of the treehouses.
Perfect.
Would definitely be remiss of me, and Maddie would be very cross because she is our Instagram queen. Just search Kosel Treehouses on Instagram.
Perfect. And it's Kosel and then _ Treehouses on Instagram. Perfect. Oh, thank you ever so much.
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
You too. Thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to you. I always get really inspired with things like this, and I'm so excited to talk about you guys because I know it's such a recent project, but the fact that you've built this tree house is amazing. And like when you were talking as well, and you were saying about like the spaces that you like, I instantly started thinking about my time in Norway, because when you said about Ben Fogel's New Lives in the Wild, I ended up staying on, there was an episode a long time ago, and it was in Norway, and it was with this lady called Randy Skaug, and
you did it.
I went and stayed there.
Oh, amazing.
It was the most bizarre, like luckiest situation, and I was on Instagram at the time, and there was a guy who was working, I think he was on her like site, and he was from Australia, and he was doing a project with her, or expedition, and he wanted advice on charities, because he used to be in the military. So I was sort of sent him a message and gave some advice on some of the military charities that I knew of. And I said to him, I was like, I'd love to go here. And I remember when I was watching it, I was like, I'm going to go there, but I never actually thought that I'd actually go there. And then he was like, oh, you should contact her. He was like, send her an email and things like that. So I sent her an email, and at the time I wasn't allowed to say that I was volunteering there, because they just changed the rules in Norway that they weren't allowed to take on volunteers, I think, from overseas. I think they could do it in Norway itself, but not from overseas. So I had to like pretend that I was just going on holiday. And it felt really weird because I was like, surely people won't like mind. But I went there, and opposite was a place called Manshausen, and that place opposite reminds me of the sort of places that you're saying about. I'll try and remember, and I'll send you a link, but they're these little wooden structures. They kind of look, it's very in contrast to Andy Scout's area. It's very the opposite end in terms of like, it's very luxurious, and they almost look a bit like War of the Worlds type look, but because they're made out of this wood that just like sort of goes into the background, and you've got these big glass windows, and they are just little rectangular pods, but inside it's just this beautiful light wood, white fresh linen, and then these huge windows, and that's the only window in it, but it looks across the fjord and the mountains, and it's so lovely, and they're all situated in different areas, so each one looks and has a different view.
They are so good at it. They're so good at it. I don't know what it is. I think it's just purely the simplicity. But doing it so well. I mean, you can do simple, but you can do simple really well. It's just got it nailed. Absolutely.
They're so good. There's so many places out there. They're so lovely. I know that Randy was wanting to, she's got like a silo, and she really wanted to convert that. So maybe you should email her and say, I'll convert your silo.
I'll
contact her and we can all go out.
I found you another volunteer, not a volunteer. Yeah. It is beautiful. I mean, I don't know how it's hard to do it. It's really hard to do it. We haven't got it with ours quite, but you're trawling through the internet looking at this stuff, and you just pitch and you go, oh man, wow.
Yeah, it just clicks, doesn't it? You know what, when you see it, you're like, I just love that.
You see that wilderness going as far as your eye can see, and this stark contrast building smack bang in the middle of it, and you go, it works. It might be a square box or a triangle or whatever shape it is, and you kind of go, how can something so stark, how can you put that in such a natural environment? And you go, it works.
It does. It's weird. It does work, because I remember looking at the mountains on the left, and then on the right you've got these funny little pod things, but because of the color of them, because of the color of the wood and the color of the ground, it just all flowed into one. It was really bizarre, but they are just these funny little rectangular standing pods.
Exactly, and it's harmonious with what's going on. I think we should all be trying a bit more. We've got 10 houses that are wanting to be built in Greek at the moment in an area
really?
of natural beauty.
Oh,
And you'd look at them and you go, they could come from anywhere in the UK,
yeah,
from any Taylor Wimpey shite housing estate.
yeah,
Are you guys serious? Like, make an effort, man.
yeah.
That's just shocking.
It's a shame as well, because when you think if someone's building 10 houses, you'd like to think that's a slightly smaller plot compared to the crazy big estate. So you would think that there would be more like care put into it.
Even if it's planting, but just none.
Yeah.
None. It's been pulled off a shelf, shoved in a planning application. Right, there's 10 houses.
Yeah.
That's not reflective of the buildings.
No.
Or the AONB, or the water, or the woodland, or the Rolling Green Hills, or nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't even have any of the local materials. It's not timber. It's all, probably Indian slate.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, just, there's a lot of people in the industry that just seem not to give a damn about.
Yeah. And sadly it is, isn't it? I think it's just sort of the money side of it and the greed side of it, which is horrible. But it's there, and it's frustrating as well, because unless there's like a big social change of that, there's always going to be someone who does it. And I think it is quite a known thing. I've not lived in Cornwall my life. My parents moved down here, I think it was about 5 years ago. We were originally from near Reading. We were from Hazelmere. So I was brought up there. So that was where I was born, in a little village called Camelsdale. And like I just remember it being just like that whole thing of like backhanders almost in Cornwall. And I always knew of that because our family friend's Cornish and born here, and she always says the same thing.
Yeah, it's got a reputation.
Yeah.
And that's quite well deserved, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's just a shame that, like you were saying, put solar panels on the roof.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing this?
Yeah.
Want to build a new house in an AONB in particular, slap a solar, and especially for the affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bit that makes me really angry. If people that need affordable housing, they don't have as much money as other people to look after the house. Therefore, you should be making a house that's low cost to run as well as buy.
Yeah.
Not at all. They make that affordable house with the worst possible materials, with the least amount of money invested, and therefore it's going to fall to bits and cause more maintenance.
Yeah.
That's an own goal. Like, what this house should be built like a brick poo house.
Yeah.
It should have renewable energy and battery storage and all of the good stuff that means it's low cost to run and low to maintain. And that's affordable.
Yeah.
But I'm at risk of standing on my soapbox again.
No, you're fine. It's good. It's good to be passionate about something. Yeah. It's like when I said to you about Randy Scout, your eyes lit up, and I'm like that. It was like when someone says something, or someone says something that I'm like, yes, I get that.
Not good at poker.
Oh, it's been so good chatting to you. I best let you get some lunch before you start doing your hot tub stuff.
Plumbing work. So but that's where I'm off to.
Oh, amazing.
All right. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too. Take care.